Imagine you're on a dream vacation, cruising on the ocean, when suddenly something unexpected threatens everything. That's exactly what happened to our little friend, Kitten. Subscribe and press bell icon for more stories. Kitten had just started her summer holidays from school, and her family decided to go on an exciting trip. But here's the twist. Kitten's dad kept the destination a secret. It was going to be a surprise for the entire family. After hours of driving, they finally arrived at a port. To everyone's amazement, there was a giant cruise ship waiting for them. Kitten's eyes lit up with excitement as they boarded the ship and began their journey across the ocean. While Kitten's parents relaxed and enjoyed lunch, Kitten was busy exploring the ship. She could feel the wind on her fur and the gentle rocking of the waves. Everything seemed perfect, until she saw it. Out of nowhere, a massive wave started rising in the distance. Kitten's heart pounded in her chest. The wave was coming straight toward the ship. She quickly ran to warn her parents, but before she could reach them, the wave crashed into the side of the ship with a force that knocked everyone off balance. The ship tilted dangerously, but just as panic set in, the captain's voice echoed through the ship. "Please remain seated. Stay calm, everyone." Kitten finally made it to her parents, trembling. She hugged her dad tightly and whispered, "I was so scared of that wave." Her parents comforted her, reassuring her everything was under control. Slowly, the ship steadied itself and continued sailing, but the storm ahead still loomed in the distance. The stormy skies were growing darker, but the passengers on the ship were blissfully unaware of the danger lurking ahead. Some were laughing, taking pictures, and enjoying the gentle sway of the waves, while others were relaxing under the open sky. But that calm was about to shatter. Suddenly, the captain's voice boomed over the speakers. "Attention passengers, we are entering a dangerous storm. Please stay seated and alert." Kitten's heart raced. She clung tightly to her father, her tiny paws trembling in fear. What was going to happen next? Within minutes, the sky turned black, and the once calm sea transformed into a furious monster. Giant waves crashed against the ship as the wind howled like never before. The captain tried his best to keep the ship steady, but the storm was too powerful. Then the unthinkable happened. The ship began to tip, losing balance. Panic broke out. "The ship is sinking," someone shouted. Everyone scrambled for safety, jumping into the stormy sea to save their lives. Kitten and her family were no different. They held hands as long as they could, but the violent waves separated them. For half an hour, the storm raged on. The ocean was chaotic, and in the chaos, many people were swept away by the fierce waves. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the storm began to clear. The rescue team arrived in helicopters and boats, searching the wreckage for survivors. They pulled people from the water, but sadly, some had already been lost to the waves. Kitten's mom and dad were among the lucky ones. They were rescued. But as they looked around frantically for their beloved Kitten, their hearts sank. The rescuers couldn't find her. The small kitten was missing, lost somewhere in the vast ocean. As the rescue team worked tirelessly, they brought all the injured cats to a nearby hospital for treatment. Among them were Kitten's parents, who had been pulled from the water. But there was no sign of Kitten. In the hospital, the doctors did their best to care for everyone. Kitten's mom and dad anxiously awaited news about their daughter. But when the rescue team finally approached them, the news was heartbreaking. "We couldn't find your daughter," they said softly. "We fear she may have been lost to the deep sea." Kitten's parents were devastated. Tears flowed as they cried for their little one, feeling hopeless and shattered. They couldn't believe she was gone. But what they didn't know was that Kitten had survived. Far away from the chaos, Kitten lay unconscious on a mysterious island, surrounded by the sound of waves crashing against the shore. After what felt like hours, she slowly opened her eyes. Confused and scared, she looked around. Where was she? And where were her parents? Panic set in. Kitten jumped to her feet and began to run, desperately searching for any sign of her family. "Mom! Dad!" she called out, but there was only silence. The only sound she could hear was the wind rustling through the palm trees. Then, the memories came flooding back. She remembered the moment she jumped from the ship, how the powerful waves had pulled her under. She had struggled to swim, fighting against the current, until she was carried to this island. But now, she was completely alone. Back in the city, Kitten's mom and dad couldn't give up. They continued to search for their daughter, asking anyone who would listen if they had seen her. But no one had any answers. They cried and cried, not knowing if they would ever see their little kitten again. But Kitten was out there, alive, stranded, and trying to find a way home. For an entire day, Kitten wandered the island, feeling lost and scared. But then she made a brave decision. I have to be strong and face this situation. She set her mind to surviving and started building a small shelter from branches and leaves to protect herself at night. However, the island was surrounded by the sea, and at high tide, the waves would crash over the land, destroying her shelter. Despite this, Kitten didn't give up. 2 days passed. She caught fish from the sea and survived on what little food she could find. Each day she wrote the word "help" in the sand, hoping someone would see it. But each time, the waves washed her message away. Still, Kitten refused to lose hope. She rewrote her plea for help over and over. Days went by, 5 long days of struggle. Then, on the 6th day, Kitten saw something in the distance. A boat. Her heart leapt with hope. She quickly climbed a tall palm tree and waved her paws frantically, signaling for help. Would the boat see her? As the boat approached, Kitten was relieved to see that it was a YouTuber named Jimmy. He noticed her signals and steered the boat toward the island. Within minutes, he arrived and jumped out of the boat. "Hey, little Kitten, what are you doing all the way out here?" Jimmy asked, surprised. Kitten, exhausted and desperate, replied, "I was caught in a storm, and the waves brought me here. Can you help me get back home, please?" "Of course, I'll help you," Jimmy said kindly. "But first, I need to shoot a video on the island. After that, I'll take you home." Back in the city, Kitten's parents were in despair. They had lost all hope of seeing their daughter again. Their grief had consumed them to the point where they couldn't even eat properly, and now both were admitted to the hospital. Meanwhile, Jimmy finished shooting his video on the island in 24 hours. True to his word, he brought Kitten back to the city and took her to his home. Jimmy gave Kitten some food, and she eagerly devoured it. She hadn't eaten anything so delicious in days. After the meal, Jimmy asked, "Do you remember your home address, little Kitten?" Kitten thought hard, but no matter how much she tried, she couldn't recall her home address. "I don't remember," she said sadly. "How will I ever get back to my parents?" Back in the hospital, Kitten's parents were feeling hopeless. Then, something miraculous happened. Jimmy uploaded his video titled 24 Hours on an Abandoned Island to YouTube, and within an hour, it went viral, racking up millions of views. Kitten's parents, lying in their hospital beds, were casually watching videos when they came across Jimmy's video. They couldn't believe their eyes. They saw their beloved Kitten in the video. With renewed hope, they immediately contacted Jimmy, explaining who they were. Without wasting any time, they left the hospital and raced to Jimmy's house. At long last, Kitten's eyes filled with joy when she saw her parents walk through the door. She ran as fast as she could and jumped into her dad's arms, hugging him tightly. "I missed you so much," she cried. Her mom hugged her too, tears streaming down her face. "We missed you more than you know," her mom whispered. "Are you safe now?" Kitten smiled, but then looked a little concerned. "I am safe, but there's one more problem." "What is it?" her mom asked, worried. Kitten looked up and said, "The viewers are watching our video, but they aren't liking or subscribing to our channel." Her mom chuckled softly and said, "Don't worry, sweetie. I'm sure they'll subscribe. Right, everyone?"